Hello, welcome to a Bad Snowmance. I'm 2822 News Future Alert meteorologist Matthew Howard.
And I'm 2822 News anchor Mark Hiller. We are going to take a cold-hearted look back at an old flame that left lovers in our area stuck indoors.
And that's right, the 2007 Valentine's Day storm. I was only 3 years old when this storm happened, but I can tell you I did some digging and we looked at some statistics about the storm and why it was really a significant one for a lot of us here in Northeastern Pennsylvania. So for many of us, it's hard to believe that this storm, Valentine's Day storm, remember it happened 19 years ago. So we saw on February 13th and 14th, 18 inches of snow. So 1.5 feet of snow at the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton Airport. On the 13th, we measured about 2.5 inches of snow. Not very significant, but when you put it all together, on the 14th, we had 15.5 inches of snow. So this fell just on a Valentine's Day, and this 15.5 inches of snow is the 6th highest on record for just one given day. And there was, in some areas, a little bit of sleet with the storm, so it made it even harder for people to travel. So we really saw a lot of snow, Mark, and I know you went through the storm. What have you remembered about it?
I remembered almost like it was yesterday, Matthew. I was a morning and midday news anchor at the time, and it had snowed, as you said, the night before, and the snow just kept piling up. And I had worked a day shift the next day, an early day shift. And I was done around 12:30, and I remember thinking, am I going to get home? So I gave it a shot. I went the highway, figure, that's a state road that plows will get out. And it was one of the most difficult drives I've ever experienced in winter. I took 81 north, took the exit I needed to take about 10 minutes before the highway was shut down. And it was shut down, Matthew, for a good 15 hours.
That's a lot of time for a highway to be shut down. And I'm sure with temperatures in the teens and some temperatures in the 20s, made it very hard to treat those roadways with that storm.
It absolutely did. And when you think about the storm and what it did to the East Coast, it caused more than 36 deaths. It triggered tornadoes. You have 2 tornadoes when you think about it in winter. That's pretty impressive, especially when it's happening on the East Coast. It was a big storm, a blizzard, a full-fledged blizzard in several locations. And of course, we got all that snow with the ocean moisture dumped right back on northeastern and central PA.
Wow, Mark, this is certainly quite one to remember. I didn't remember it because I was so little, but a lot of people, especially adults, they really remembered this storm and what it entailed. So 2822 News spoke to drivers on I-81 where the traffic was snarled due to the storm.
Interstate 81 is brought to its knees in northeast and central Pennsylvania again.
And I've been on 81 for 6 hours.
Been on 81 for 5 hours and went about 5 miles.
Since 3 o'clock this afternoon on 81.
I left the Petro at 2 o'clock, and here I am now, 23 miles.
Their stories are all the same. All of them were forced off of Interstate 81. These drivers were merely passing through the area when what was a headache snowballed into a nightmare. The ordeal is vexing to all.
It's dangerous. That's the best word I can say. This is very dangerous. This is as dangerous as you can get right now.
The criticism, and not to mention the anger, is directed at PennDOT and reaches all the way up to the top, Governor Rendell.
Every time we come through Pennsylvania, there is a problem. There's construction in the summer. There's stoppage of traffic when they're working. There's always a problem in Pennsylvania.
Drivers call this an indictment on Pennsylvania's preparedness.
And here, nobody knows nothing.
And if you know why you're stopped, that's one thing, but nobody knew anything.
You're looking for an alternate route with no help from anybody on the road. State police, we have no idea. Been surrounded by tractor and trailers all afternoon.
For Pennsylvania Morning, I'm Joe Holden.
Take a look at the traffic backups.
You don't want to know what I am right now.
As detour drivers veered off the snow-covered interstate.
They're chasing us off 81, putting us on these back roads, not even telling us where to go.
They included mostly truck drivers.
Annoyed? It's, you know, it's what I do. So, yeah, of course I am, but it's what I do.
And lots of Florida-bound motorists.
We're driving straight through to Florida right now. We don't know where we're going. Yeah, we don't know where we're going now. We have no idea.
Where are you headed right now?
Oh, I don't know. Place to stay overnight.
Derek Greenfield and his mom stopped for directions at a gas station in Mountaintop. He's determined to make a special delivery.
I'm trying to find my way to Nanticoke because my girlfriend lives there, and I came to give her flowers, and one exit before the Nanticoke exit, I got kicked off.
Luckily for drivers, the American Red Cross has stepped in to open up an emergency shelter here in the gymnasium cafeteria of Rice Elementary.
It's going to be a lot warmer in the backseat of the car.
More than 24 people will take advantage. They're passing time with toys, the television, and lots of talking.
I'm spending it here with a stranger that I met in town because the roads were closed, and we're having a great conversation because we got a lot of mutual friends back in Ontario.
They're also gabbing on the phone, grabbing a bite to eat, and graciously waiting. This group is headed to a wedding in D.C.
She's marrying a French fellow, and his parents flew in today, and we were supposed to have met them tonight, but we're evidently not going to.
Jill Konopka for Pennsylvania Morning.
Interstates were not the only roads impacted by the storm. A lot of city roads around the area were also impacted as well. And the sound of spinning tires caused drivers to rely on the help of strangers wherever they were going. So, Mark, I can't even imagine interstates being closed. I know Interstate 81 can get fairly busy at times, especially during the week. Really, those main roads cannot handle that as well. And with the snow, how slow you have to go and how cautious, I can only imagine it was quite a disaster, Mark.
Right, so we're talking about Interstates 81, 80, 380. Those were just some of the major roads that were closed, and it bottlenecked all of those other smaller roads, as you were just indicating, in cities and smaller communities. You know how tough it can get with storms that we've seen even in the winter of 2025-26, how difficult it can be and how the roads don't quite get up to snuff. Takes a couple of days. I mean, this really lingered. It wasn't like we had a big warm-up and the snow melted anytime quickly. It was a rough Valentine's Day, Matthew.
Yeah, and Mark, with the heavy snow too, we see a lot of heavy snow falling over an inch an hour. So this is one of those big things where the PennDOT really can't treat it as well. And also with temperatures being in the teens and 20s, they really can't salt the roads all that efficiently. And it's not really going to be a good idea for people to really go on those roads, especially for a long period of time.
Winter can always test everybody's driving with all the slipping and sliding and the wheels spinning. It can be very, very difficult and dangerous, as you've seen already so far. So we are going to take a little break, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. We were talking just about how bad these interstates were. They were closed, they were snow covered, but also really important as well. Those city streets could be quite dangerous. A lot of spinning of tires, a lot of snow covered roadways as well. So we're going to get into some information about that.
We certainly are. You know, we think about snowstorms. They could be nuisance snowstorms, the ones that you have to shovel and plow, and then there are ones that are crippling. And I think that's what really makes this storm stand out. It probably would have been remembered even if it weren't Valentine's Day, but the fact that it was Valentine's Day, that really sealed the deal.
Yeah, Mark, it really did seal the deal, and I'm not 100% sure what day of the week it happened, but I'm sure depending on that time
I
frame,
remember.
You remember?
It was a work day.
It was a work day.
It was a weekday.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was tough. I mean, imagine just trying to get from here to there. You want to see your loved one or you want to deliver something. It was a nightmare for everybody.
And those weekdays, that's when a lot of people travel, Mark. A lot of people travel to work. A lot of people, I mean, in this case, I'm sure school was closed, but people still, especially essential workers, still had to be out. And a lot of places could have still remained open. So very hard to travel. And I'm sure that's part of the reason why the storm is very one of those to remember.
Right. You certainly wouldn't want to be stuck. And that was the case, as you're about to see.
Putting tires along Kidder Street in Wilkes-Barre, this mail truck had a tough time making it through. The deep snow forced many drivers to abandon their cars. This woman's tire blew up. She got a ride home from a Good Samaritan. Others pitched in to push drivers out of the drifts.
I just Towed out 2 people, and an elderly lady who was stuck for an hour, and no one seemed to stop and won't let her out. I'm like, all right.
The roads are terrible. They're terrible. They're atrocious. I haven't seen a plow truck. I've sitting in a donut shop for what? 45 minutes now. I didn't see one plow truck come through here.
City officials say the plows are out there. They're just having a tough time keeping up. In Wilkes-Barre, Jeff Cherico, WBRE News.
They had put the suitcase right here, so Connor and Kelly slept on top of the suitcase right here.
With just some travel gear, Mark, Kelly, and Connor Tortorici spent the night in their SUV. More than 12 hours of sitting and waiting and wanting to know about the massive backup on 81.
We had stopped at the rest station and they told us that everything was okay, the roads were fine, and there was no delay.
But the family from sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida, was stuck on an icy, bitter, dark, cold highway, 1,000 miles from comfort.
I wasn't worried. I knew we can, the roads didn't look that bad to me. I mean, I just wished everybody would just keep driving, but for some reason, everything was shut down.
The delay deflated what was supposed to be a surprise visit to family in Dallas.
So our plan was to get here last night and to surprise my parents for Valentine's Day, and then today is my father's birthday, so it was supposed to be a good birthday present, but it just took us a long time. It was a surprise on our part.
Their gas was getting low. They were able to meander through some tractor trailers and find a rest stop.
It was a little weird keeping the car on all night. It would get too hot and then it would get too warm.
But the Tortoricis kept busy. Connor had DVDs and games, while Mom and Dad kept a positive outlook. They arrived in Dallas a little late and a little worn out, but safe and sound. In the back mountain, I'm Joe Holden, WBRE News.
And it's easy for your car to get stuck while you're in the snow. I mean, that snow falling down very heavy. It's not easy to get to treat all of it, shovel it all off your car. It's just really not one of those easy situations. Even in 2025, 2026, heard a lot of people had their cars stuck due to several different winter storms we've had across the country this year, Mark.
Yeah, when you're talking about an 18-inch snow accumulation, just imagine how deep that is compared to the front of your car. I mean, that's up at the bumper and above. It is just almost incredibly tough to plow through that. You'd need sled dogs, I think, to get you through in a storm like that.
Yes, Mark, and I know that snow definitely fell within an inch an hour, heavy snowfall rates, and at times not very easy to shovel. I know people probably use some snow blowers. People probably had many different ways of getting that snow off. And I'm sure with those cold temperatures, really not that easy.
Yeah, if you didn't have a snow blower and your neighbor did, your neighbor was the envy of the neighborhood. I mean, it was that kind of snow. And the snow became heavy, that 18 inches of snow, so much so that it caused trouble for some buildings, a couple I know well, the Hoyt Library in Kingston and the Wyoming Valley Sports Dome in Plains Township.
At 9:58 Wednesday morning, Kingston firefighters got an alarming call from the Hoyt Library. That's where Tom and TJ Vanchek were cleaning the first and second floors near the main entrance. Tom Vanchek thought his son was making noise.
And I heard the noise get louder and louder and louder. And I looked, and the roof came down. It was just astonishing to see the roof come down. I mean, I've been in this building for years, and just to see that happen is just unbelievable.
I heard a loud wind gust, and the fire alarm started going off. Next thing I knew, I heard him yelling to get out of the building, so I darted out of the building.
In a matter of minutes, 40 feet of the library's roof collapsed into the children's wing. Had he not been running late for work because of all the snow, Tom Vanchek believes he may not be standing here.
I was just ready to go to that section. About 3-4 minutes, I would have been down there. 3-4 minutes, I would have been down in that section.
Firefighters taped off the scene, surveyed the destruction.
We're looking at major damage. The roof is on the floor.
And like the cleaning crew, counted their blessings. The library was closed because of the storm.
If it was open and being no school, it may have been crowded, and thank goodness it wasn't. Or if it was later in the afternoon, children come in here and they have classes.
In Kingston, Jill Konopka, WBRE News.
Just too much ice too fast here.
The Valentine snowstorm squashed the Wyoming Valley Sports Dome Wednesday afternoon. The owner watched the dome deflate while he was out plowing his parking lot. Thankfully, nobody was inside or injured.
The first hour, you didn't want to talk to me here. It was very upsetting the first hour here, but hey, it's one of those things. What are you going to do? Things happen here. You just go on here. You just thank God, nobody got hurt here.
Lucky for Ed Sahosky, he's fully insured and says the place will be back up and running in no time. Elsewhere, drivers found themselves sitting idle on the ramp to 81 South, coming from the Cross Valley. A tractor trailer jackknife backing up traffic for hours.
And they finally got him cleared, but now they're literally towing each car out one at a time. But the trick is going to be if that big semi can get out of there.
How frustrating is this for you?
Nah, it's not frustrating.
In Lackawanna County, firefighters in Old Forge got a call just a few houses down for a car that caught fire.
A lot of people start up their cars in this weather just to keep running, keep them idle for a long period of times. They'll come out and all of a sudden they'll see their vehicle on fire.
Crews pulled out their hoses and watered the vehicle down to stop it from smoking. These men and women in uniform have a feeling this won't be their only call.
It will be busy for us, I have a feeling, yes, absolutely.
Pennsylvania Morning, I'm Jill Konopka.
And Mark, we really don't think of structural damage when it comes to snow, but it's really an important part of the piece. And I know a lot of different storms where we've had a foot and a half of snow with not major structural damage, but storms like this, Mark, that's like stuff you see in severe weather.
Yeah, the weight of that storm was something else, and it was crushing to the folks who count on the Hoyt Library for their research, to bring their children. As we saw the children's wing, the damage spread to that wing. And then as a former youth soccer coach who had coached some teams that played at Wyoming Valley Sports Dome, that was devastating to see happen. It was good to see that it got back up and running as it is today.
Yeah, and Mark, it takes a lot of time, a lot of money to really get these places back into business and back into action.
Yeah, that's the heartbreak when it impacts the community over a longer period of time than that relatively short span of when we got that storm from that Tuesday night into Valentine's Day Wednesday in 2007.
Yeah, Mark, and I know it just takes so much time and so much thought, especially a lot of people probably have gone to the Hoyt Library and gone to a bunch of different other places that have been attacked by some structural damage as well. And it's really not a fun deal at all. It's almost equivalent to what you see sometimes in these weak tornado setups you get.
Yeah, and you heard that one man who said, he was about 4 minutes away from being at the library. You think of all the times that you wish you were earlier, that you just missed something. That's one big storm that he was glad to miss and avoid being in that library, because who knows what could have happened.
Yeah, Mark, and it's not a fun situation at all. We'll be right back for more on this winter weather package. Welcome back, everyone. We've had a lot to talk about today in this package, and we are going to be talking about, it's really important how people drive in the storm. We've had essential people out on the roadways. A lot of us here at the news station, for example, we have to be out in the elements. We have to get from point A to point B. And while maybe kids are off from school and they don't go anywhere, and while some other businesses are closed, there's a lot of essential workers out there, food, news, and just plowing in general. So, Mark, it's really important to stress that, and the people have to be out on the roadways even when it's the worst conditions.
Yeah, I'm glad you're giving some props to news people. I think of some greats we worked with, including Joe Holden and Jill Konopka, who were out in the heart of that storm, bringing stories to people here, something that we still very much enjoy doing at 2822 News. But yes, they were among those who were considered essential. You mentioned about some of the others. Some of the others included what I say, Matthew, are the two most important P's, perhaps, when we're talking about a snowstorm. And do you know what those P's are?
Well, pizza delivery drivers.
That's one.
And plowers?
PennDOT.
PennDOT. Okay,
plowers,
close enough.
Yes. All right.
Like I said, it's pretty intense. Most of the traffic will stay behind you. There's a trooper on the other side there, and the truck's stuck. Looks like they're stopped there in the right lane. Probably about 25, 30 miles an hour. You don't want to hit any manhole covers or expansion joints on bridges, or a guide rail or a bridge abutment. Out here you'll see this next bridge, the expansion joint is a little high today. Early this morning it was even. Sometimes it'll snow too hard and you just can't keep up with it. Just gotta do your best.
Is today one of those days?
Yeah, at times today it snows pretty hard, and by the time you turn around and hit it again, it's covered over a couple inches. The salt does freeze up when it gets cold. You'll get large chunks in the back of your box. You have to shift them out sometimes. Yeah, some days are long. Usually 11 and a half hours you go home. 12-hour shift. Yeah, we'll be back at midnight tonight. Gus is gonna help you.
Phones at Casa's Pizzeria in East Stroudsburg rang all day Wednesday. The shop got twice as many delivery orders than it does on an average weekday. During the lunch rush, only one group trudged through the snow to eat here.
We thought it would be easier to come in. If everyone's going to order things, we would come in, we would be sitting down, we'd have our meal like that.
But with just these 4 eating in, that meant dozens of pizzas had to be sent out. WBRE News joined delivery driver Andre Konduzov on one trip. He drove through snow, waited for stuck cars, and after walking through an unplowed driveway, discovered his car was stuck. After a 10-minute struggle, he freed the car and got back on the road. Meanwhile, people called Casa's demanding their pies.
It's snowing like crazy out there, you know, you've got to give us time. And they're like, well, we're hungry, we're hungry. Well, you know, there's other people to order too.
Between the irate customers and the horrible roads, this can be a frustrating job.
I was expecting just to do the deliveries in nice weather, get tips, you know, and just be happy, but this is a frustration right here. Snow, the weather, customers, everything.
Pennsylvania Morning, I'm Lori Monteforti.
Those delivery drivers sure need a big tip getting their pizza orders out to customers in a storm like that, Matthew.
Yeah, Mark, and it's no easy task at all. I know a lot of people just want to stay at home, eat food at home, and in these type of scenarios, those grocery stores get flooded with people, items run out, and sometimes people may not even always get to some grocery shopping due to their convenience of time, Mark.
Well, if they were smart before the storm is as the storm is forecast, they would have stocked up right before all that and just snack away and ride out the storm. But you bring up an excellent point about the delivery drivers and people getting stuck. And many of us were told to stay home during that storm. But if you were out and you had to deliver and you got stuck, I mean, you saw that one man stuck in the driveway for 10 minutes. Have you ever been stuck in a storm, Matthew?
I have not gotten stuck in a storm, at least yet. It might change through time, but there have been some times where I've slid on the road pretty good. There's been times where maybe it's very hard to travel, almost feeling like you've gotten stuck, but I haven't quite gone stuck. How about you?
Oh, I have. Back in the 1980s, I recall, I was going to take 81 North home from the Wilkes-Barre area to the Scranton area, and it's right at that entrance ramp in Plains Township, which normally we refer to as Exit 2. I spun off the road, and if it weren't for the fact that two passers-by and a car stopped, they drove me direct to my house, which was about 12 miles north. And I asked them, why are you out in a storm like this? And they said they really enjoy the challenge of driving in winter weather. So that was one of us, not me.
Yeah, Mark, I don't enjoy the challenge of driving in winter weather. And it takes so much time to just get from one place to another, just so much havoc. And really, you're putting yourself into sometimes a little bit of a danger just putting yourself in one of those situations.
Yeah, with the wheels spinning, you can smell the burning rubber, you don't want to blow out your engine, all things like that. Well, as we talked about that storm, we spoke via satellite with then Pennsylvania State Police Colonel, I should say, Jeffrey Miller, and PennDOT Secretary Alan Beeler to get their response to what the storm was doing across the region and how it was being responded to.
We have Alan Beeler, who is the Secretary of PennDOT, with us, and Colonel Jeffrey Miller from Pennsylvania State Police. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. What a past 36 hours it has been in Pennsylvania for sure.
Boy, is that ever an understatement. We've had people stranded at various locations, whether it's Interstate 78 or 81 for literally up to 20 some hours. And it's really been a struggle for everyone, not only the emergency folks in PennDOT, but those people as well.
And of course, we know you're addressing problems on Interstate 78 a little bit south of here, but Interstate 81 runs through our region. Of course, we saw tremendous problems last night, everything from snowplows to stranded drivers. Tell us what happened last night in this region and how you're looking forward to try to correct this in the future.
It was really a storm event of storm events, and there's a point where the snowfall amount is so severe that we can't get in front of it, if you will. That was coupled in this particular storm event with tractor trailers that jackknifed and prevented us from getting in to even start clearing the roads. That then produced those very, very long backups, not only on Interstate 81 in the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre area, it also affected Interstate 80 and 380 and so forth. So we really had an interesting storm up in that area. I'm pleased to be able to tell you that the last report I had prior to coming on television here was that Interstate 81 was at least moving, and we've gotten the basic backlogs. We still had some problems on Interstate 81 south of 80 going toward the Harrisburg area in a couple locations, but basically we're at least moving.
There were complaints that plows weren't seen for hours at a time on the interstates, and when they were seen, they would go a little bit and then the cars would follow as far as they could, and then the plow would exit and people would just be stranded with a foot or more of snow left on the highway. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, we had many of our plows just couldn't keep to couldn't get onto the various sections of roads, whether it's ramps or the main line of Interstate 81, in addition to some of the other surrounding roads like Route 315. We have various sections that the various teams are devoted to. So we moved through it as fast as we possibly could, throughout the evening.
And a question now for Colonel Miller, please. Why wasn't the call made earlier to close those interstates altogether and get people out of there and prevent them from getting there in the first place?
Well, that's normally something I believe that's handled through PennDOT in an issue like this. I know that PennDOT put out a number of different alerts earlier in the day just asking motorists to please, if you don't need to be out on the highway, please don't travel today because we have potential for a very dangerous storm. And unfortunately, that's what happened. From our perspective, as soon as we had jackknife tractor trailers, we used every available four-wheel drive police vehicle we had. We commandeered other vehicles, worked with local county EMAs. We set up shelters in some cases and tried to get anybody out of the backlog in a passenger car that we could. Obviously, once you have the trucks backed up to each other, you can't go forward, you can't go backward, and the only way you can get them out of there is to remove the impediment and then begin to remove each line of trucks as you can go work your way back through the backlog.
And Colonel, one final question before we go quickly. What lessons have you learned from this, and what will the protocol be for future storms?
Well, we always, from the state police perspective, we always do our best to try to warn people in advance to stay off the roads, and we use the number of four-wheel drive vehicles that we have for patrol. When you have a combination of a number of jackknife tractor trailers in one specific location with blowing snow and ice, it creates a problem because, as I said, as soon as you move the first ones, then you've got to, in some cases, pull trucks that are now stuck on an incline and can't get any momentum out. So it's a very long process. The best we can do is try to keep those roadways as clear as possible to allow PennDOT to get in and do their job so we can safely move traffic through the area.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you for the information. We appreciate your time today.
That was the Bad Snowmance of 2007. What a storm to remember, Mark. 18 inches of snow and a lot of havoc across the region.
It absolutely was. I know your Valentine's Day forecast for 2026 is a whole lot different, Matthew.
Yes, we're going to be seeing highs in the 30s and 40s, near average instead of what we had with that snow.
So we hope this Valentine's Day brings you more love than snow, right?
Yes.
Thanks for joining us.